Governor Dannel Malloy addressed the budget and other issues facing the state at the Business Council of Fairfield County's annual meeting on Monday.
It's great to be with everybody. It's actually a lot of fun to be back here at the Marriott, where I've given so many speeches and had so many lunches and dinners, and just actually last Monday night spoke to the Downtown Special Services District on the occasion of their annual meeting. It's great to be back with so many folks who I know and have worked with over the years. I was invited to speak to you. Now, I'm not the first governor to speak to this organization, but I'm actually the first governor to ever have eaten one of your lunches. So it's another first. But it's great to be with you. I want to do a couple of things because clearly there are some issues out there that you probably want to hear about, and then also spend a fair amount of time talking about economic development, all of which I'm supposed to compact into a very short amount of time. Listen, I've only been governor for less than 6 months. And the promise that I made when I ran, and the promise that I've made routinely since I took office, is that we will have a balanced budget without gimmicks, period. A budget that puts the state on a sustainable path, and one that is honest and forthright in beginning the process of addressing what are structural deficits and structural problems in the state of Connecticut. As you know, when I became governor, I had already been handed by the outgoing governor on November 15th a budget pursuant to state statute that was the same services budget, and it had about a $3.5 billion deficit. At $3.5 billion, representing 18% of total revenue, we're talking about the largest deficit of any of the 50 states on a per capita basis. It simply was too big to tax our way out of it, too big to cut our way out of it. It had to be some combination of the two. We cut $800 million. We asked our workforce for contribution over a 2-year period of time, $1.6 billion, and yes, we raised revenue. The last few days, it's become apparent that although a majority of our state employees approved that concession package, a minority sufficient to block it from going into place has voted against their leadership, and as a result, we will move forward in a different direction. That direction is pretty straightforward. We're going to cut $700 million of additional spending from the budget. That will cause a number of layoffs in the state of Connecticut amongst our workforce. I didn't want to do that. I don't want to do it. It's not the right thing on a short-term basis to do, and it's probably bad for the economy in the short run. Having said that, the overarching concern has got to be whether Connecticut is prepared to live within its means, reasonably established, and whether it's prepared to make the kinds of changes that we simply have to make if we are to restore an ability to compete with other states for job production and job retention. So that has to be the #1 ruling factor, and it is. I've called the legislature back into session on Thursday. It's my hope that they either will enact $700 million worth of changes, or they will authorize me to do so, as they have done for other governors in the past when there have been times of fiscal constraint. If I'm granted that power, then by the next morning, July 1st, the first day of the fiscal year, we will have a budget in place that is balanced and predicts to live within our revenue stream. Having said that, that's not really the reason I came here, and I would have preferred not to actually have spent as much time on that subject as I've had to, because what we really need to do in the state of Connecticut is get back in the game again. For 25 years now, it used to be 22, but the numbers get worse, not better. For 25 years, we have failed to grow jobs in the state of Connecticut. There are only 3 states that fall roughly into that category: Rhode Island, Michigan, and ourselves. And that's not good company, quite frankly. And really surprising is that Michigan's done a better job of job retention than we have. So we really come in dead last. There are lots of reasons for that. Some of those are, issues that play themselves out across the globe. Some of them are the cost of doing business in the state of Connecticut. I'm not sure we'll ever be leading manufacturer of widgets again, but we will be the leading manufacturer of jet engines and helicopters and submarines and other high precision tools. And that's the portion of the production market that we need to go after. But there are a number of things that we've got to do in the meantime, and this budget, which will be amended, actually does do. Number one, we create a Department of Energy. It's actually the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. The goal of the energy side is to lower the cost of energy in the state of Connecticut so that it becomes aligned with the average cost in New England first and then goes below that at some point in the future. In the absence of a firm policy, we have allowed ourselves to have energy costs, electric energy costs, about 18 to 20% on average more expensive than the rest of New England. That is unacceptable. We also have costs that are double what they are in some of the other states. That too is unacceptable. So we're going to address that issue. Secondly, we have reorganized state government. We've eliminated state entities by a third as a first down payment in consolidation. Actually, Catherine Smith, who just spoke to you, represents a substantial portion of that consolidation because the new DECD is taking under its wings various agencies that previously existed as separate silos. And if we're going to have a real economic development effort in this state, we needed to put everybody under one house that's involved in that activity, and I think we selected the right leader. We're reorganizing higher education in the state of Connecticut, and specifically turning and looking at our community colleges, the 12 of them, along with our 4 regional institutions and our 1 online institution, putting them into a single system. So that we can cut the cost of administration and so that might allow us to make sure we have enough money to spend in the classroom training Connecticut's workforce. And I want you to understand that I know that that is a big impediment in the state of Connecticut. Our inability to have evolved as quickly as some other states in training the workforce for the future is one of the problems that we've got to make very fast turnaround on, and we're prepared to do that. Shortly, I'll be naming a leader of that system along with a new Board of Regents, and I can assure you that Fairfield County will be well represented on that board, as it will also on the Yukon board as things play out. We're doing a number of other things to create jobs in the state of Connecticut, including our First 5 initiative, which is a special package of benefits that we can make available to companies that come forward and say that they're going to bring 200 jobs or grow 200 jobs in a short period of time in the state of Connecticut. We've had a large expression of interest there, which I think really argues that that program should not be the first 5, but the first 20 or first 50 or first 100. We're going to get the economy going in the state of Connecticut, and we are going to compete with other states. We've also made a massive new investment in the University of Connecticut Medical Center, or at least approved that. And I want to explain to you what we're trying to do in the state of Connecticut. We know we have a great university, Yale, that has over the last 10 years specifically moved into a large-scale creation, innovation, and the monetization of both. We know that we've made large investments at the Yukon campus, and it too is now a leader in innovation in certain fields, and we have aligned our laws in the state of Connecticut to allow for the monetization of that research as well in the state of Connecticut. But what we hadn't done is made a sizable investment in Farmington, where the medical school, the dental school, and all of its complex is located. And so in our new bioscience program in the state of Connecticut, we're rebuilding that facility. We're going to add 50 additional laboratories, fully staffed, modern laboratories, and invite 50 scientists to the state of Connecticut to work in the bioscience investigation arena. We're also expanding the medical school by 100 students and the dental school by 48 students, all of which, taken together, is designed to produce about 16,500 jobs over the next 20 years. But more importantly, will allow our state to regain a stronghold in life sciences, biosciences, and related areas of research. And I think that that is an important investment. If you think about it, between Yale, going to Storrs, going to Farmington, we can create our own research triangle, supporting actually some of the work that's being done by the gentleman who just introduced me at Purdue Pharma, as well as a number of other entities in this room or spread out throughout the state. I also have to tell you that we're going to make timely investments in infrastructure. We're committed to about $1.2 billion of infrastructure investment, not including federal dollars, on an ongoing basis. That's our target budget for infrastructure investment. It could go up if the economy increases and we see more revenues coming in. But we're going to make those investments in a more timely fashion. We're looking for projects that actually will make it easier for commerce to take place in our state. So chief among those investments to be made in the not too distant future is additional investments in transportation so that people can get to Stamford or to Norwalk or to Greenwich or any of our other cities, so that we can move a workforce capable of competing with anyone else's workforce, but we can move it around our state. And likewise in other parts of our state, so that we can move product more efficiently. At a time when we've been teaching just-in-time delivery systems and MBA programs in the United States for 33, 34 years, we have not made the kinds of investments in our state to allow that to happen. That's about to change. So taken together, we have a pretty good idea of what we need as basic work. But starting today, Catherine and myself will be traveling the state over the next 60 days or so, visiting. Actually, I'm going down to Blue Sky in Greenwich as soon as I'm done speaking to spend some time with 425 individuals who are producing at least one movie per year in the state of Connecticut, fully staffed with Connecticut taxpayers. But we're going to go from business to business and have conversations with chambers of commerce, with this business organization, with individual businesses that are represented in this organization, to understand how we get out of the way to allow you to do what you do best, create jobs. In this country, the public sector is going to decrease employment by about 750,000 jobs during this 12-month period beginning on January 1st through December 31st. It's about a 0.5% hit on the GNP. It adds and has added over the first 6 months of the year substantially to our unemployment phase. And unfortunately will play itself out a little more vividly in the state of Connecticut in the coming days. Having said that, what we have seen is the private sector more robustly than they're given credit for because of the offset on the public sector job loss, produce jobs. It's happening in Connecticut, it's happening in the region, it's happening in the nation. Now, historically, Connecticut lags substantially behind the other 50 states on average for recovery from recessions. And we've tracked that for all of the recessions in the post-World War II period of time. And specifically in the last 5, we have lagged substantially behind the other states. Well, makes sense if you think of the last 25 years of no job growth, and the fact that Connecticut really did not do the things and make the kinds of investments that it needed to make, it's not surprising that we lag. Well, that's got to change. You know, and I've talked about some of the things on a large-scale basis that we need to do. But what we need to do, and I want to say this again, we need to get out of your way. We need to understand what regulations are impeding your decision-making, slowing down the process, preventing you from bringing jobs here, preventing you from retaining jobs here. I will take the lead, Catherine will take the lead, to make sure that we reform Connecticut's government so that you can be more competitive with the folks that you compete with. And if you are, then you're going to bring jobs to our state, and you're going to stop leaving. Because after all, you all know in this room that we've got a great workforce, that we're very efficient, that we do things that can't be done in many other parts of the country. But on the other hand, when government doesn't reform itself, it basically shows you the door. So those days have got to be over. And specifically what we've said is we will call a special session in the fall on a date to be worked out between the leadership of the legislature and myself, but sometime between, well, probably sometime in October or November, no later than the early part of November, to have a short session specifically to enact legislation to make it easier for you to compete with people in other states, to make it easier for you to grow your jobs, to give you the tools, to give state government the tools that it needs to allow that to happen. And by that time, I hope we have a good report on energy costs. And by that time, I hope I can bring you additional good news on higher education restructuring so that you have confidence that we're going to produce the kind of human capital that you need to be productive in the future. And by that time, I hope that I can tell you additional investments that we've made in transportation, although we are making big investments as we speak, including more rail cars, including a larger commitment to new stations, including a commitment to additional parking, including a commitment to resolving the parking issue here in Stamford. So we're going to get this state going. Don't anybody bet against us. Now, we may be down. We may have had a bad number of years. We might even have a bad couple of months to get through. But I know the people of Connecticut. I know the people who were born here, and I know the people who decided to move here. There is no obstacle that we cannot overcome. There is no lesson that we cannot learn, except if we refuse to learn. And there's nothing happening in any other state that we can't duplicate. I can't be the widget capital of the world. But I can be the insurance capital. I can be the bioscience capital. I can be the precision manufacturing capital. I can make sure that all of you have the tools necessary for you to be successful in your industry. And that's what Catherine and I are trying to do, and that's what I'll ask the legislature to do, and that's why I was particularly proud to come here and speak with you today and to eat that lunch I talked about. Thank you very much.